Hello, guys. You have dreamed of waking to wealth, of holding in your hand the proof that fortune favors you. Yet I say, fortune is not a fickle lady. It is your own being. In the silence of sleep, when the senses are still, lies the formula that makes riches inevitable. Would you dare to test it tonight? In the next moments, I will reveal how to enter sleep in possession of your desire to feel the winning already yours, to impress this certainty upon the subconscious, and to awaken to a world compelled to mirror it. If you have struggled with doubt, with money, with waiting, here you will learn the hidden formula that turns dream into fact, not theory, but law, not chance, but certainty. I know your frustration. You have affirmed, you have visualized, and still the 3D world mocks you with bills, with lack, with a sneer of reality. You have asked, am I doing this right? How long will it take? Have I ruined it with one doubt? Beloved, I tell you, nothing is lost. The secret has been hidden in plain sight. As you fall asleep, the door to creation stands open, and what you plant there, you reap in waking life. This is the great gift, the art of assuming the wish fulfilled in the state akin to sleep. In this journey stretched over the hours of night, we will walk together through the law and its operation. I will show you why feeling is the secret, why assumption creates reality, and how the simple practice of imagining before sleep becomes the lottery ticket that never fails. You will learn the formula step by step, how to still the senses, how to enter the imaginal scene, how to sustain the feeling until it takes root in the subconscious. Along the way, I will share the testimonies of those who dared to apply it, who discovered that wealth, love, and healing appeared as naturally as dawn. Remain with me, for at the close, I will reveal the deeper mystery. Why all this wealth is only the shadow of a greater prize, the awakening to your true self as God. Now, listen closely, for here is where the entire journey begins. What I'm about to tell you will sound almost too simple. And because of its simplicity, most miss it. But miss this, and you'll keep chasing after shadows, hoping for fortune to favor you. Grasp it, and you'll realize that fortune has been waiting on you all along. There are two kinds of people when it comes to wealth. One says, if I can only get the right numbers, if luck finally smiles on me, then my life will change. The other says, no, the numbers are already mine. For the whole vast world is nothing but my imagining pushed out. One places power outside himself in odds, in chance, in the draw. The other understands the truth. There is no chance. There is only consciousness becoming visible. The difference between the two is not education, not luck, not hard work. The difference is this one knows that imagination is the only reality. Why does this matter so much? Because if you believe chance rules, then you'll live at the mercy of statistics, forever hoping, but never certain. You buy tickets, you pray to luck, and deep down you tremble because you think the outcome isn't in your hands. That's the tragedy of living blind to the law. But when you know imagination is the cause, then even the lottery becomes your servant. You no longer chase money. Money chases you. You no longer plead for luck. You assume the state of already being lucky, and the outer world cannot help but mirror it. So what am I saying? I'm saying the world you see, the bills on the table, the numbers drawn on the screen, the zeros in your bank account are not the cause. They are the effect. The cause is always your inner state, your I am. The moment you dare to accept this, you hold the master key. For I am is the root of all experience. Say within yourself, I am wealthy. I am favored. I am already the winner. Hold it, feel it, and that inner declaration will shape every outer fact. Let me give you an example, not from theory, but from lived testimony. A woman once came to me burdened with debt. She said, "I need money quickly. I've tried everything. Nothing works." I told her, "Stop trying to earn it. Imagine instead that the money is already yours. See the check, feel the weight of it, hear the words of congratulations." She thought it foolish, but she obeyed. Within a week, out of nowhere, she received a check covering her debt with more to spare. She said, "Florence, it felt like magic." But I reminded her, it was not magic, it was law. The outer world is but the mirror of your inner imagining. Now, you might say, "But surely, Florence, there must be limits. Surely some things are too big, too impossible." I tell you, nothing is impossible to imagination. Do you not read in Scripture, with God, all things are possible, and if God is your own wonderful imagination, then nothing is beyond you? The odds of the lottery, they tell you, are 1 in millions. Yet what is that to imagination? The odds only matter if you accept chance as power. The moment you assume the state of the winner, the odds dissolve like mist in sunlight. Here's the danger, though. If you forget this law, if you slip back into thinking that circumstances are caused, then you hand your power away. You react to bills with fear, to delays with doubt, and those feelings themselves will impress the subconscious, which never argues, never debates, but always outpictures what it receives. That's why some live their whole lives chasing luck, because they keep imagining themselves as unlucky, as poor, as outsiders. But you are no outsider to wealth. You are the operant power. You are imagination itself. So when I say imagination is the only reality, I am not speaking in metaphor. I mean literally that the outer world, your bank balance, your job, your so-called luck, is nothing but imagination objectified. Change your inner state, and you change the numbers life draws for you. So tonight when you lie down, don't beg, don't wish. Remember this: the cause is within you. Imagination is reality. The ticket in your dream is more real than the one in your hand. For the dream is cause, and the ticket is effect. And once you grasp this, you'll stop playing the game of chance and start playing the game of certainty. That's powerful enough on its own. But combine it with what I'm about to share next, the secret of assumption, and you'll see why persistence in imagination always outmaneuvers the world of facts. Here's something most people completely miss. And because they miss it, they spend their entire lives hoping, waiting, and doubting, never tasting the certainty of fulfilled desire. They confuse wishing with assuming. And in that confusion, they turn the law of creation into a game of chance. Yet I tell you tonight, that assumption, though false when you first take it, if persisted in, hardens into fact. Let me say that again, for it is the key to everything that follows. What you dare to assume is true, though every sense denies it and every fact ridicules it. If you remain loyal to that assumption, it must crystallize into the solid reality of your world. Now, why does this matter? Because the difference between a beggar and a king is not one of effort, not one of labor, not even of talent. The difference is in the assumption each man carries within himself. The beggar assumes himself to be needy, unworthy, unlucky, and therefore life mirrors that story back to him in endless chains of poverty. The king, though he may sit at first in rags, dares to assume his throne. He walks in imagination as though the crown were already on his head. And because he assumes it as natural, the outer world is compelled to bow to his inner reality. Get this wrong, and you'll pray as a beggar prays. You'll affirm like one crying for what he does not believe he has, and you'll wait in vain for your word to change. But grasp it, live by it, and you will discover the effortless way of creation, the way of assumption. So what is assumption? It is simply the acceptance within yourself that you already are what you desire to be, and that you already have what you desire to have. Not, I will be rich someday. Not, I hope the lottery falls in my favor, but I am the winner now. Feel the difference. To say I will be is to confess I am not. And the subconscious hears only what you are now. It knows nothing of tomorrow. It acts only on the present assumption. When you say I am, you are planting the seed of certainty in the fertile soil of your being. And that seed, if guarded and watered by persistence, must spring forth as fact. Let me show you how this works in practice. Years ago, a man came to me in despair. His business had failed. His savings were gone. And he told me, Florence, if I could just get a break, if I could just catch one stroke of luck, everything would turn around. I said to him, forget luck, forget breaks. Tonight, assume that you are already prosperous. Don't ask how. Don't scheme. Simply accept the end as done. See the faces of friends congratulating you. Hear them say, what a turnaround, what a success you've become. Feel yourself shaking hands as the man of means, then fall asleep in that assumption. He did as I instructed, though at first it felt ridiculous. For weeks, nothing happened, but he persisted. Then one day, an opportunity came. A business partner appeared out of nowhere. Funds flowed from an unexpected channel, and within months, he was restored, not just to comfort, but to abundance. He told me later, it was as though life bent itself around my assumption. And I reminded him, life did not bend itself. You bent life by assuming it was already so. Now you may be thinking, but Florence, what if I assume and it feels false? What if my senses scream the opposite? My dear, it will always feel false at first. That is the test. Every great assumption begins in contradiction to fact. Abraham in Scripture is told he will father a child, though his body is as good as dead. Mary is told she will conceive, though she knows no man. These are not biological tales. They are psychological dramas teaching you that assumption defies appearances. You must dare to say, though the world calls me barren, I am fruitful. Though the account is empty, I am wealthy. Though the ticket is not yet drawn, I am already the winner. Hold fast to this inner knowing, and the outer world, though slow at first, must rearrange itself to make your assumption flesh. Here lies the great danger. Most people drop their assumption the moment facts resist them. They assume for a night or two, then when nothing changes, they sigh and say, it didn't work. And in that very sigh, they assume failure. They return to the old state, and the old state reclaims them. But those who persist, those who refuse to bow to facts, discover that assumption is the golden key. Persist, and the false assumption will solidify into truth. Persist, and what was once fantasy becomes history. Persist, and the lottery of life pays out not because you hoped, but because you assumed. Think of it like this. A child playing make-believe does not wonder, is this real? He simply assumes the role. A pirate, a king, a queen. And in that moment, it is more real to him than any fact. That childlike faith is the doorway to creation. Unless you become as little children, Scripture tells you, you cannot enter the kingdom. Why? Because only the child knows how to assume, without question, without doubt, without compromise. The adult trained in facts and odds and statistics laughs at assumption and so remains chained to chance. But the child who dares to assume finds the kingdom wide open. So tonight, if you would win the lottery of wealth or health or love, stop wishing, stop hoping, begin to assume. Put on the state of the winner as you would put on a garment. Wear it in your inner world. Walk in it. Speak from it. Think from it. And if you persist, the day will come when others see it with their outer eyes, and they will call you lucky. But you will know the truth. It was not luck. It was law. Assumption, though false when first made, hardened into fact. That is the secret. And when you join it with what I am about to reveal, the power of feeling, you will understand why assumption alone is not enough unless it is clothed with the garment of emotion, the fire of conviction, the living pulse of felt reality. Here is the point where most stumble, and because they stumble here, they imagine endlessly yet reap little. They affirm for hours yet see no harvest. They dream of riches yet wake to lack. They ask, why does it not work for me? I've seen the scene. I've repeated the words. I've held the picture. And I say to them, you have forgotten the secret that it is not the picture alone that creates, not the words repeated like parrots, not the cold image sketched upon the mind. It is feeling that impresses the subconscious, and without feeling, no seed takes root. Think of the farmer. He may scatter seeds across the surface of the ground, but unless the seed falls into rich soil and is pressed down by the elements, it remains lifeless. So too with your imaginal acts, you may see yourself with the winning ticket. You may picture the numbers glowing in your hand. But if you do not feel the thrill, the gratitude, the certainty of already having it, then you are scattering seed on stony ground. It is feeling that presses the seed deep into the womb of creation. And once it is impressed there, it cannot help but bring forth after its kind. Why does this matter so much? Because the subconscious does not argue, it does not debate. It does not analyze your statements to test whether they are logical or possible. It accepts only what you feel to be true. Tell it, I am rich yet feel poor, and the feeling will be the truth it embraces. Tell it, I am healthy, yet feel the ache of illness more real than the words you speak. And it will outpicture illness not health. This is why so many who affirm for wealth continue to live in lack. They have never shifted the feeling of being poor. They say, I will be. And by that very confession, they impress poverty deeper still. So I say to you, feel it now. Do not wait for the numbers to be drawn, for the bank account to swell, for the evidence to appear. Feel the thrill of already being the winner. Hear the laughter of friends congratulating you. Feel the weight of the check in your hand, the joy of financial freedom in your chest. Do not look at wealth as a far-off land you hope one day to enter. Feel yourself already at home there, already seated at the feast, already living in the end. For feeling is the secret passage by which imagination crosses into fact. Let me give you a story to anchor this truth. You've heard of the ladder experiment. Perhaps a man is told to imagine climbing a ladder for 3 nights and during the day to repeat to himself, I will not climb a ladder. Invariably, within days, ladders appear, and often the man finds himself upon one without conscious effort. Now, why does this curious game work? Because at night, he does not merely think of climbing. He feels himself upon the rungs, feels the strain in his arms, feels the rough wood beneath his hands. That feeling impresses the subconscious, and the subconscious, true to its nature, must outpicture it. So, ladders appear. The same law applies to wealth. If you imagine the numbers, the check, the abundance, but do not feel it as real, you have done nothing. But if you feel the joy, the relief, the naturalness of already possessing it, then the world must deliver it. Here's the consequence. If you neglect this, you will spend years affirming with no harvest. You will pray with no answer, and you will begin to doubt the law itself. You will say, maybe it works for others, but not for me. Yet the law is no respecter of persons. It responds only to feeling. To feel a state as hopeless or impossible is to impress the subconscious with failure. To feel a state is already real is to command it into existence. The choice is always yours. Now you might object and say, but Florence, how can I feel something real when my senses scream the opposite? How can I feel rich when the bills pile high? How can I feel the thrill of winning when I hold nothing in my hand? And I answer, you do it the way the actor does upon the stage. The actor knows he is not Hamlet, yet he feels the sorrow, the rage, the triumph of Hamlet as though it were his own. He enters the role so deeply that for the audience Hamlet lives, so too must you act in the drama of your own wish fulfilled. Enter the part, put it on, feel it until it is more real to you than the facts around you. Facts will change, feelings persist. This is why Scripture commands when ye pray, believe that you have received and ye shall receive. It does not say believe that you will receive one day, but believe that you have already. And how can you believe you have already without feeling it? So words are not enough. Images are not enough. It is the feeling, the living pulse of possession that makes it so. So tonight when you lie in bed, don't just picture the winning ticket. Feel it. Don't just recite, I am wealthy. Feel the ease of paying every bill, the joy of blessing others, the quiet confidence of abundance. Don't just think about winning. Feel yourself already the winner. For the subconscious, like a faithful wife, responds not to command, but to the gentle persuasion of feeling. Enter her chamber, clothed in the garment of fulfilled desire, and she will bring forth for you in due season. That is why I say to you, stop saying, I will be. Stop wishing. Stop hoping. Begin to feel. For feeling is the secret. It is the bridge from the unseen to the seen, from imagination to fact, from desire to fulfillment. Hold the feeling, dwell in it, sleep in it, and it will harden into your world. And that, my friends, is the mystery of creation. But stay with me because what comes next will show you why sleep itself, that quiet moment when the senses fade, is the golden door into the subconscious and how you can use it as the hidden formula to win the lottery of life while you rest. Now we come to the hidden formula, the mystery that has been concealed in plain sight. The power overlooked because it is too near, too familiar, too constant. You see, every man and woman passes through the door each night, yet few understand that the door itself is the workshop of creation. I speak of sleep, or rather of the state akin to sleep. This state hovering between waking and slumber is the golden chamber of imagination, the very womb of reality. To grasp this is to hold the key that unlocks the lottery of life, not by odds or chance, but by law. Why is sleep so important? Because when you drift into that borderland, the outer senses grow dim, reason grows quiet. The guard at the door of the subconscious relaxes his vigilance. In waking life, you protest, you argue, you say, it's not possible, it's too unlikely, it can't be me. But as you sink into drowsiness, those arguments fade, and the subconscious, that faithful, fertile womb, stands open to receive impressions without resistance. If you let the last thing on your mind be the picture of your fulfilled desire, the feeling of your wish already achieved, then the subconscious, like a wife conceiving seed, accepts it as fact and brings it forth in your waking world. Consider how most people fall asleep. They replay the failures of the day. They count their bills, rehearse their worries, imagine conversations filled with doubt, with lack, with anger. And then they wonder why tomorrow looks like yesterday. But the law is faithful. The subconscious can only outpicture what you impress upon it. If you plant weeds before sleep, you wake to weeds. If you plant riches, if you plant certainty, if you plant the thrill of victory, you wake to conditions that match. This is why I say, guard the doorway of sleep as you would guard the vault of treasure, for it is more powerful than any vault in the world. Now, how do you enter this sacred state? It is simple, though it requires practice, because the mind is restless. Lie down at night in a position that feels natural to you. Let the body grow heavy, the breath slow, the thoughts begin to drift. Do not force sleep, do not strain. Simply let yourself float upon the border. In that drowsy stillness, imagine the scene that would be true if your wish were already fulfilled. If you desire to win the lottery, imagine holding the winning slip. Imagine hearing the announcer call your numbers. Imagine your friend saying, "Congratulations, you've done it." Do not make it complicated. One short, vivid scene is enough. But here lies the secret. Feel it. Let the joy rise in you as though it were now. Smile even as you lie in bed. Not because you hope it will happen, but because in imagination, it already has. Let your body respond to that joy. If tears of relief come, let them. If laughter bubbles up, allow it. For in that borderland, the subconscious accepts feeling as fact. You may fall asleep still whispering, "It is done. It is done." But the words matter only as they stir the feeling. It is the feeling that takes root. Now you may ask, what if I fall asleep before finishing the scene? What if I drift off before I'm done? That is no problem. In fact, it is perfect. The impression you hold as you slip over the edge of sleep is the impression the subconscious seizes. You do not need hours of visualization. 5 minutes, even less, if deeply felt, is enough. Imagine yourself as already the winner. Let the drowsy state carry that seed into the womb of night, and the law will do the rest. Let me remind you a scripture. He giveth his beloved sleep. What does this mean? It means that in sleep God, your own wonderful imagination, gives you the seed of creation. He whispers into the silence, "Be it unto you as you have believed." The dream you carry into sleep is the prophecy of the world you will wake into. So ask yourself each night, before your head sinks into the pillow, what dream am I giving to God? Is it one of lack, of waiting, of hoping? Or is it one of fulfillment, of gratitude, of already having received? If you understand this, you will never again go to bed rehearsing failure. You will never again fall asleep in anger or worry. You will know that the hours of sleep are not idle, they are created, and you will guard them as the holiest ritual of your day. And so I tell you, beloved, tonight do not beg, do not wonder. Enter the state akin to sleep as though you were already the winner, and the world will prove it to you. 4. Imagination, received by the subconscious in the silence of night, must outpicture itself in the theater of day. This alone could transform your life. But it becomes unstoppable when you add to it the planting of the seed, the deliberate act of choosing a simple, vivid, imaginal scene and allowing it to carry you into sleep. That is what we shall explore next. Now that you see the mystery of the state akin to sleep, let me show you how to use it, how to plant within it the seed of your desire, so that what you imagine tonight becomes the harvest of tomorrow. For sleep is the fertile ground, but imagination is the seed, and without planting the soil bears nothing. So many go to bed tired, worried, weighed down with cares, and they carry into that rich earth the weeds of doubt and fear. And so they wake to a field of the same thorns they laid down with. But you hearing me now will not make that mistake. You will choose your seed, plant it with care, and let the womb of the subconscious bring it forth in its season. And here is the wonder. The seed does not need to be long, nor complicated, nor clever. In fact, the simpler the seed, the more certain the harvest. If you would win the lottery, then do not spend hours trying to see the whole process, the buying of the ticket, the drawing of the numbers, the announcement on television, the reporters at your door. That is too much, and the mind grows weary. Instead, choose one short scene that implies the wish is already fulfilled. Perhaps it is the moment after, when the news has been declared. Perhaps it is the sound of your own voice saying, "I can't believe it, I've won." Perhaps it is the feel of your friend's hand gripping yours in excitement, the words, "Congratulations," ringing in your ear. That moment alone, if felt vividly, carries within it the whole drama. This is what I mean by planting the seed. You take that simple imaginal act, and in the stillness of night, as you drift into the state akin to sleep, you play it again and again. Not as one watching a distant movie, but as one inside the role, living it, feeling it natural. Do not see yourself as though from afar. See through your own eyes, hear with your own ears, feel with your own hands. If the scene is that of holding a check, then feel the paper between your fingers. If it is hearing the winning numbers called, then hear them as though spoken directly to you. If it is the joy of sharing the news, then feel the embrace, the warmth of the arms around you, the laughter in the room. Why is this so important? Because the subconscious does not understand symbols as the waking mind does. It understands only feeling and experience. The clearer and more natural the imaginal act, the deeper it penetrates. When you plant the seed this way, the subconscious accepts it as fact, and then, without effort, without struggle, it begins to arrange the outer world, drawing people, events, and circumstances together in a pattern too subtle for you to devise. It builds the bridge of incident by which your seed becomes fruit. And here is the greatest mistake you must avoid. Do not make the scene about trying. Do not picture yourself hoping, waiting, wishing. Do not see yourself saying, "One day I'll win." For that is not planting the seed of fulfillment. It is planting the seed of longing. And longing can only reproduce itself in more longing. The seed must carry the end, not the means. The end is already won. The check is already in your hand. The congratulations are already spoken. The relief is already felt. Plant that and only that. Think of it this way. If you plant an apple seed, you do not need to also plant the soil, the water, the sun. You trust the seed to contain the whole tree in embryo. So too with imagination. The short seed fully felt already contains the entire story. The bridge of incidents, the how, the when, the means. These are wrapped within the seed. Your only task is to choose it, plant it, and persist in watering it with feeling. The harvest will take care of itself. Now, let me bring this down to a living example. A man once came to me, determined to test this law. He did not desire riches in the abstract, but he wanted a sudden proof. So he imagined night after night hearing his wife say, "Darling, we are wealthy now." It happened. He did not picture the lottery ticket, nor the exact numbers, nor the bank transaction. He held only to that one sentence, that one feeling the joy of already being rich. Within weeks, a series of events unfolded that brought him a windfall he could not have orchestrated if he tried. The law fulfilled itself because he planted the right seed. So tonight, when you lie down, do not rehearse the lack. Do not dwell on the bills. Do not picture yourself buying more tickets in desperation. Choose instead one clear imaginal scene that carries the essence of the wish fulfilled. Repeat it gently, feeling it real, until the drowsiness carries you away. Do not worry if you fall asleep in the middle. That is perfect, for the seed will be planted and the subconscious will nurture it through the night. Remember, you are not trying to win. You have already won. You are not begging for riches. You are living from riches. You are not chasing luck. You are assuming certainty. That is the formula. That is how you plant the seed. And when that seed is planted, you will soon see the outer world rearrange itself in ways you could never plan. And you will understand why I say imagination is the only reality. Assumption is the path, and feeling is the power. Yet, there is more. For there is a great law hidden within all of this. A law most overlooked. A law that shows why joy itself can produce wealth. Why feeling the end will always bring the end into sight. That law is the law of reversibility. And once you understand it, you will never doubt again. Here now is a principle so simple, so inevitable, that once it enters your awareness, it will never leave you. And yet, because it is too simple, most ignore it. It is called the law of reversibility. What does it mean? It means that if a physical fact can produce in you a feeling, then that same feeling impressed upon the subconscious can and must reproduce the physical fact. If receiving money brings joy, then joy deeply felt must bring the experience of receiving money. If winning the lottery makes you feel relief, freedom, gratitude, then by this law, the very act of entering into relief, freedom, gratitude in imagination must summon the lottery win or its equivalent. Cause and effect are not one way. They are reversible. Think of it in simple terms. Fire can produce heat, and by the same law, heat can produce fire. Electricity can produce magnetism, and magnetism can produce electricity. A voice can cause vibrations on a wire, and those vibrations on a wire can reproduce the voice. This is the symmetry of creation. It is not speculation, it is law. And so in the realm of consciousness, if the outer event creates in you a state, then the state itself, assumed and felt as real, must produce the outer event. This is the great secret of prayer. Believe that you have received and you shall receive. Why does this matter so much? Because it rescues you from the endless waiting game. Most say, when I win, then I will rejoice. When I have the check, then I will feel secure. When the numbers are drawn, then I will give thanks. But by that very order, they postpone the fulfillment forever because they place the cause after the effect. They say, I will feel when it comes. But the law of reversibility says the opposite. Feel it first and it must come. Get this wrong and you will die waiting. Get this right and you discover the power that collapses time and bends the world to your assumption. So how do you use it? Very simply ask yourself, what would I feel if this were true? What emotions would flood me if I held the winning ticket? Now, if I heard the announcement, if I saw the numbers match, what would surge through my being? Identify that feeling, whether it is relief, joy, excitement, peace, and then deliberately assume it now. Breathe it in. Let your body respond to it. Let the smile spread across your face. Let the tears well if they must. Let the laughter rise. Do not wait for the fact to cause the feeling. Let the feeling cause the fact. This is the art of prayer, the art of believing. Here is an example from a student who tested this law. She longed to free herself from financial struggle. Instead of praying as a beggar, she sat quietly each night and entered the state of relief. She would sigh as though a heavy weight had been lifted. She would whisper, "It's done. Thank you," and feel gratitude filling her chest. That was all. No ticket, no numbers, no calculation of odds. Within weeks, a series of events brought her a financial gift that solved her problem completely. She said to me, "I don't understand how it happened." I told her, "You don't need to understand how. You planted the cause, and by law, the effect followed." The feeling of relief brought forth the fact that produced relief. Now you may say, "But what if I fake it? What if I pretend to feel?" I tell you, the subconscious is not deceived by hollow words. It responds not to noise but to conviction. You cannot trick it with empty repetition. But if you dare to surrender even for a few moments into the genuine sensation, the law is set in motion. And here is the good news. You do not need to sustain it for hours. A single act felt vividly and impressed before sleep is enough for the seed once planted work silently. This law also exposes the danger of indulging in negative feelings. If fear, worry, and lack are allowed to dominate your inner world, then by the same law, they will reproduce outer facts that justify them. Feel poor, and you plan poverty. Feel unlucky, and you attract misfortune. The subconscious, impartial and impersonal, brings forth whatever it is fed. Therefore, guard your feelings, for they are the seeds of tomorrow. So, tonight, do not wait for wealth to make you grateful. Be grateful, and wealth must appear. Do not wait for victory to make you joyous. Be joyous, and victory must appear. Do not wait for proof to bring relief. Feel relief now, and the proof will come. This is the law of reversibility, and it cannot fail. And when you combine this law with the state akin to sleep, you hold a formula more certain than any odds the world can calculate. Enter sleep feeling the wish fulfilled. Plant the seed in joy, in gratitude, in relief. The subconscious accepts it as fact, and by the law of reversibility, it must call forth the outer events that mirror the inner state. This alone is enough to transform your world. But there is still one more jewel hidden in this treasure chest. The mystery of the bridge of incidents, the seemingly random chain of events that unfolds once the seed has been planted, carrying you step by step into the harvest. And unless you understand this bridge, you may mistake the unfolding for delay, when in truth, it is the law fulfilling itself with absolute precision. That is where we now turn. Now that you have seen how to enter the state akin to sleep, how to plant the seed of your desire, and how to clothe that seed with the feeling of fulfillment, let us consider what happens next, for this is where many falter. They plant and then they dig up the ground to see if it is working. They impress the subconscious with certainty, and then they rise the next morning, anxious, scanning the outer world for signs, doubting because nothing appears immediately. But listen, once the seed is planted, the law sets into motion a bridge of incidents, a sequence of events, often so natural, so ordinary, that unless you are alert, you will dismiss them as coincidence. Yet they are not coincidence. They are the direct outpicturing of your imaginal act, the invisible threads weaving themselves into visible form. Why is this important? Because if you do not understand the bridge, you will grow impatient. You will assume the law has failed. You will fall back into doubt and uproot the seed. But if you do understand, you will rest in confidence knowing that every encounter, every phone call, every delay, every seeming detour may be part of the unfolding drama that leads you straight to your desire. The bridge is not your concern to design. It is the work of the subconscious, the hidden director of the play. Your part is only to persist in the end, to walk the earth as though it were already so, while life unseen arranges the path beneath your feet. Consider this. A man imagines wealth, night after night until he feels himself already the possessor. He wakes one morning to find no change. But later that day, a chance meeting introduces him to a new friend. And through that friend, an opportunity arises, and through that opportunity, wealth flows. To him, it seems like a chain of random events, but to the awakened imagination, it is clear. Every link of the chain was forged the moment he planted the seed. The bridge began then, not later. And each step, no matter how unrelated it seemed at the time, was the law, arranging the means to its own end. Do you see the danger of dictating how it must come? Many fail because they insist it must happen this way. I must win on this ticket, in this draw, on this date. But the subconscious is wiser than your outer reasoning. It may choose a path you never considered if you demand it come in a specific form. You may blind yourself to the fulfillment already unfolding by another route. Never concern yourself with the how. Concern yourself only with the end. Imagine already being the winner, already living from the state of wealth, and let the law decide whether it comes by lottery, by gift, by opportunity, or by 1,000 other channels. You will receive, but you must leave the manner to him who works in secret, your own wonderful imagination. Now, let me anchor this with a testimony. A woman once imagined herself living in her dream home. Night after night, she slept in that state, feeling the keys in her hand, hearing her footsteps in the halls. Months passed, and no house appeared. But one day, a conversation led to a visit. The visit to an introduction, the introduction to a contract, and the contract to the exact home she had imagined. She said, "Florence, it happened so naturally, I almost forgot that I had imagined it." And I told her that is always the way of the bridge. It seems natural, yet it is the law fulfilling itself with exact fidelity. So what must you do once the seed is planted? Simply this: do not uproot it. Do not look anxiously for signs. Do not rehearse the lack. Walk in faith, knowing that unseen forces are already at work, shaping the stage, arranging the characters, writing the script that leads to your end. When delays appear, bless them, for they too may be part of the bridge. When detours come, trust them, for they may conceal the path by which the fulfillment is delivered. Hold fast to the end, and let the law build the bridge. This is why Scripture says, "Though it tar, wait for it will surely come, it will not delay." The delay is only in your sight, not in the law. The bridge of incidents is already forming the moment you assume. Every moment after is part of its unfolding. So rest, trust, persist, for the bridge, whether short or long, whether smooth or rough, cannot fail to lead you to the fulfillment of your seed. And so we close this section of the hidden formula: imagination as cause, assumption as the path, feeling as the power, sleep as the doorway, and the bridge as the unfolding. With these, you hold the key to the lottery of life, and you can never again say that you are at the mercy of chance. Yet, the journey is not complete. For to truly live as one who has already won, you must learn how to ignore the clamoring of the senses, how to walk rich in a world that still looks poor, how to hold fast to the inner wealth when the outer denies it, and that is the next mystery we shall enter. Now, having planted the seed, having felt it real, having entrusted the bridge of incidents to the unseen wisdom of your own imagination, there remains one great discipline without which the harvest may be delayed: and that is the art of ignoring appearances. This world of shadows, this outer realm of facts and figures, screams for your attention. It points to the bills piled on the table, to the empty bank account, to the unpaid debt, and it says, "This is the truth." It mocks your inner certainty and whispers, "You are only fooling yourself." But I tell you, if you listen to the voice of the senses, you return at once to the old state, and the seed you planted is smothered by weeds. If instead you learn to turn away, to deny the evidence of lack, to hold fast to the inner conviction of wealth, then nothing in the outer world can stop the fulfillment from appearing. Why is this so? Because the outer world is not cause but effect. It is the print out of yesterday's assumptions, the harvest of seeds planted long ago. To measure today's bank balance as the truth is as foolish as digging up the field the day after sowing and declaring, "See, nothing grows here." The seed is alive beneath the soil, working in silence. The fact that you do not see the sprout today does not mean it will not appear tomorrow. Yet, most abandon the law at this very point because they cannot bear to ignore appearances. They stare at their poverty and reinforce it, saying, "This is real." But reality is not the shadow. Reality is the imagination that casts the shadow. Let me give you a living example. A student of mine once determined to test this law. He imagined himself promoted at work with a higher salary and greater recognition. He planted the seed, felt it real, and persisted. Yet for weeks, nothing changed. The outer facts seemed to contradict him. In fact, he was passed over for a position he had sought. His senses mocked him. Most would have surrendered then, saying it did not work, but he did not. He ignored the evidence and held fast to the inner conviction that the promotion was his. Within 2 months, an unexpected vacancy arose, and he was offered a position far beyond the one he had originally desired, with a salary greater than he had dared to imagine. The outer world, which seemed at first to deny him, was in fact arranging itself to deliver something better. This is why I say to you, do not judge by appearances. Judge righteous judgment, which is to see not with the eyes of flesh, but with the eyes of imagination. If the outer world denies you, smile and say within yourself, "I know my assumption is true, and therefore the outer must conform." When the bills pile up, pay them in imagination with ease and confidence, and let the feeling of abundance be more real to you than the numbers on the page. When the account looks empty, walk through your day as though it were overflowing. The world will call you mad, but faith is always called madness by the senses. Now, you may object, "But Florence, am I not deceiving myself by ignoring facts?" And I answer, facts are not truth. They are only the frozen form of past feeling. They are not eternal. They shift and vanish as new assumptions harden into fact. To cling to them is to cling to the dead husk of yesterday. To ignore them is not deception, it is wisdom. For you know the cause is within, and the cause you now hold will outpicture itself no matter what yesterday's facts declare. Scripture tells us we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are unseen. For the things seen are temporary, but the things unseen are eternal. The unseen is your assumption, your inner state. The seen is the shadow already passing away. So learn to walk by faith, not by sight. Learn to smile at contradiction. Learn to bless the delay as part of the bridge. Learn to keep your eyes fixed on the unseen wealth, the unseen victory, until it steps out of shadow into visibility. This is the discipline, the art, the courage of faith. And if you master it, nothing in the 3D world can disturb you. You will know that appearances are powerless, that they are only the echo of yesterday. You will live in the end unshaken until the end becomes fact. And when you do this, you will see why the true lottery is not in the numbers drawn, but in the concept of yourself you carry. For wealth is not outside you waiting to land by chance. Wealth flows from the self you dare to assume. That is where we go next to the mystery of self-concept, the true ticket that guarantees the prize. Here is the mystery that few ever consider. And because they do not consider it, they chase fortune as though it were a fickle wind, sometimes blowing their way, often against them. Never steady, never secure. They hold the ticket in trembling hands, staring at numbers, and they call that the lottery. But I say to you, the true lottery is not outside in slips of paper, in machines, in odds and statistics. The true lottery is the concept you carry of yourself, for all the wealth of the world will flow, according to the image you dare to assume within. If you see yourself as poor, you may win today and lose tomorrow. For poverty will strip from you what chance delivered. If you see yourself as wealthy, if you assume abundance as your natural state, then even if you lose today, life will find ways to bring you riches. For wealth is compelled to answer the concept you hold of yourself. Why is this so? Because your concept of self is the seed of every harvest. It is the root from which every branch grows. You may pray for money. You may imagine the ticket. You may affirm the words. But if beneath it all, you still feel yourself to be unlucky, unworthy, always passed over, then even the gift that comes will slip through your fingers. For the root determines the fruit. But if you dare to revise your self-concept, if you dare to say, I am the one who always receives, I am the one for whom fortune always flows, I am the one favored and blessed, then the outer world, no matter how stubborn, no matter how reluctant, must eventually bend to match the image you hold within. Consider the difference between two men. One says, I hope to be rich, I hope to win, I hope chance will smile on me. He waits, he begs, he trembles. The other says, I am wealthy, I am the winner. Life itself conspires to enrich me. He walks with quiet confidence, not waiting but living from the end. To the first, wealth is always tomorrow. To the second, wealth is always now. The difference is not in effort, not in chance, but in self-concept. And by law, each will reap according to what he has dared to assume. This is why I say to you, the ticket is but a symbol. It represents your belief in chance, in odds, in something outside yourself. But the true ticket, the one that cannot fail, is the assumption you carry of your own identity. If you walk through life as one who is lucky, then luck will meet you at every corner. If you walk as one favored, then favor will open doors that effort never could. If you walk as one rich, then riches will find you, not because of effort, but because of law. For life cannot do otherwise than reflect the image you hold of yourself. Let me give you a testimony. A man once told me he had tried for years to manifest wealth, but always failed. He imagined numbers. He affirmed statements, but nothing changed. I asked him, tell me when you affirm. How do you feel yourself? He said, I feel like a poor man trying to become rich. I told him, that is your failure. You are not poor trying to be rich. You must feel yourself already rich, already the possessor, already the one who wins. He obeyed. He began to walk differently, to think differently, to treat himself inwardly as already wealthy. In a short time, opportunities he could not have planned began to appear, and wealth flowed to him. Why? Because he changed the root. He shifted the self-concept, and the fruit followed. Now you may wonder, but Florence, How can I change my self-concept when everything outside tells me otherwise? How can I call myself rich when the world calls me poor? And I say, you are not defined by what the world calls you. You are defined by what you call yourself. The world is only the echo. You are the voice. Change the voice, and the echo must change. This is the art of living in the end. You stop waiting for facts to confirm your desire, and you begin to live as though the desire were already yours. This is why I tell you, stop asking, will I win the lottery? Start declaring, I am the winner. I am always chosen. I am always favored. Stop saying, one day I'll be wealthy. Start saying, I am wealthy now, and wealth is natural to me. Stop seeing yourself as the outsider hoping for a miracle. See yourself as the miracle itself, the one in whom all riches already reside. For wealth is not a prize given by chance. Wealth is the shadow of the concept you carry of yourself. So tonight, when you lie in bed, do not only imagine the winning ticket. Imagine yourself as the kind of person for whom winning is natural, for whom wealth is ordinary, for whom abundance is the rule and not the exception. Feel that identity so deeply that you can no longer separate it from yourself. Walk in it tomorrow as though it were already fact. Speak from it, think from it, and watch as the outer world, helpless to do otherwise, bends itself to mirror the self you have assumed. This is the true lottery, and once you win it, you cannot lose. For even if 1,000 outer channels dry up, new channels will open. Even if one ticket fails, another path will appear. You are not at the mercy of odds. You are the operant power. You are the one who declares, I am. And the world answers, yes, you are. And when this becomes natural, when wealth feels as familiar to you as your own breath, then gratitude will flow effortlessly, not as a trick to get more, but as the natural song of one who already has. And that gratitude, as we shall see next, is itself a proof of possession, a fragrance of fulfillment, a sign that the harvest is already yours. Now, let us take the final step in this section. For once you have dared to assume the state of wealth, once you have held fast to that new self-concept, you must come to the place where it feels so natural, so ordinary, so effortless, that gratitude arises in you without strain, without effort, without needing to be manufactured. For gratitude is not something you try to do to get a result. It is the spontaneous song of one who already possesses. You do not say thank you to the waiter before the meal is served. But once the plate is before you, once the fragrance fills your senses, gratitude rises unbidden. So too with imagination. When you really feel the wish fulfilled, thanksgiving flows like breath. And that thanksgiving itself is proof that the state has been impressed upon the subconscious. Why is this so important? Because many attempt to force gratitude, repeating words with no life in them, saying thank you while inwardly feeling lack. That is not gratitude. That is begging disguised as prayer. True gratitude cannot be faked. It comes only when you so fully accept that you already are what you desire to be, that you already have what you long for, that the words thank you rise naturally as though whispered by the heart itself. Get this wrong and you will exhaust yourself. Thinking gratitude is another technique to manipulate reality. Get this right and you will discover that gratitude is the very perfume of fulfillment, the evidence that the harvest is certain. Let me show you what I mean. A woman once told me she had been practicing gratitude journals, writing lists each morning of things she was thankful for, but still her life did not change. I asked her, when you write those words, do you feel them? She admitted she did not. It was an exercise of the mind, not the heart. I told her, stop writing lists. Instead, close your eyes tonight and imagine one thing. The check in your hand, the numbers called, the debt cleared. Feel it so real that tears of relief come. And in that moment, whisper, thank you. Not because you hope, but because you know that is gratitude. She obeyed. Weeks later, she returned with a smile and said, it happened. Money came in a way I could not have planned, and I could not stop saying thank you. That is the difference. Gratitude is not a command you give to yourself. It is the overflow of assumption. When you feel yourself already the winner, you cannot help but give thanks. When you feel yourself already rich, gratitude flows with ease. When you feel yourself already healed, gratitude is as natural as breath. And that ease, that naturalness is itself a sign that the seed has taken root. The subconscious has accepted it, and the harvest is assured. Now let us speak of naturalness, for gratitude and naturalness are twins. The state you assume must become to you as natural as waking in the morning, as natural as putting on your clothes. If you feel strained, if you feel like you are pretending, then persist until the strain dissolves and the new state feels ordinary. For the goal is not to feel like you are playing a role. The goal is to feel like you are simply being yourself. The rich man does not strain to believe he has money. It is his natural state. The loved one does not force herself to believe she is cherished. She lives in it as the air she breathes. So too with you. Persist in assumption until wealth, until success, until victory feels natural, and gratitude will follow as night follows day. You may ask, but Florence, how will I know when I have reached that point? And I tell you, you will know by the ease of it. You will know when you stop checking, stop measuring, stop asking. When you will know when the feeling of already having has become so normal that you forget the old state. You will know when gratitude is no longer a practice, but a presence, a quiet joy that hums beneath your thoughts. That is when the state is natural, and when it is natural, manifestation is inevitable. Scripture says, when ye pray, believe that you have received, and ye shall receive. And what is the proof that you believe you have received? It is gratitude. It is the quiet sigh of fulfillment, the laughter of relief, the song of thanksgiving. You cannot fake it, but you can cultivate it by dwelling so deeply in the imaginal act that the feeling of possession becomes real. And from that reality, thanksgiving flows. So tonight, as you drift into sleep, do not force words of gratitude. Instead, so fully assume the end that you cannot help but whisper, thank you, with a heart overflowing. Let that thank you be the last thing on your lips, not as a technique, but as the natural breath of one who knows it is already done. And if you persist in this, you will see the world bend itself to mirror the gratitude of your heart. This is the art. Assumption until naturalness, naturalness until gratitude, gratitude until manifestation. And when you have lived this, you will never again doubt the law. You will know that the outer world is only the shadow of the inner, and that thanksgiving is the sign that the inner has already given birth. And when you see this, you will be ready for the great testimonies, the living stories of those who dared to test the law, who discovered that sudden money, unexpected opportunities, and so-called miracles came not by chance, but by imagination, assumption, feeling, and gratitude. And those testimonies will show you as nothing else can that this law is not theory, but fact. That is where we now turn. Now I know there are some who sit listening still with a shadow of doubt. They say within themselves, this sounds beautiful, but has it ever truly worked for others? Can imagination alone bring forth wealth, or is it but a lovely philosophy with no substance? And so I bring you testimony, not to persuade by argument, but to reveal by living fact that the law has never failed those who dare to test it. For the law is no respecter of persons. It answers to all in exact proportion to their faith. A man once wrote me saying he had long desired proof of this teaching in the realm of money. He was weary of living from paycheck to paycheck, weary of seeing his efforts yield little fruit, and he resolved to put the law to the test. Night after night he entered the state akin to sleep, and in that drowsy borderland he imagined himself opening an envelope and drawing out a check far larger than anything he had ever received before. He felt the weight of it in his hand. He heard his wife's delighted voice, and he let the thrill of possession carry him into sleep. Within 2 weeks, a business venture he had thought long dead suddenly revived, and a check for the exact sum he had imagined was placed in his hand. He wrote to me, "Florence, it was as natural as breathing, and yet I know it was born in those nights of imagination." Another woman told me she was drowning in debt, hounded by creditors, and she despaired of ever finding her way out. She had prayed as a beggar prays, pleading for relief, but nothing changed. Then she heard these words: "Assume the wish fulfilled, feel it real, and let the subconscious do the work." That night she imagined herself free, saw herself holding a receipt stamped, paid in full, and heard her own voice whisper, "Thank you." She persisted for a week, and then a relative she had not spoken to in years called unexpectedly and offered her a gift large enough to erase every debt. She said, "Florence, I could scarcely believe it, and yet I knew it had to happen, for I had already accepted it as true within." Do you see the pattern? Always the same. The imaginal act accepted, the feeling impressed, the outer world compelled to yield. There was yet another man, a gambler, who desired to test this law, not by labor or business, but by sheer chance. He told me he would imagine himself winning a large sum at the races. Each night, he played out the scene. The sound of coins falling into his hands, the laughter of companions congratulating him, the joy of walking away a winner. Within a month, he won a sum so great it startled even him. He said, "Florence, I thought it luck, but then I recalled the imaginal act, and I knew it was the law." I cautioned him, as I caution you now. Use the law wisely. For wealth gained by chance alone without a new self-concept may slip away. But the story remains. Imagination outpictured itself, for it cannot do otherwise. And still, a man wrote of being in desperate need of money for medical bills. He had no idea where it might come from. He decided to assume he already had it. Each night as he drifted into sleep, he imagined a friend shaking his hand and saying, "I'm so glad it worked out for you." He did not know how, but he felt the relief of already having the funds. Days later, a letter arrived from an insurance company he had long forgotten, informing him of a settlement due him the exact amount required. He said to me, "Florence, I did nothing but assume. The law brought the rest." These are but a few of the hundreds of testimonies I have received. Stories of sudden money, unexpected checks, long-forgotten accounts, inheritances, gifts, and opportunities arriving without effort. Always the same pattern. Imagination first, feeling clothed upon it, assumption persisted in, and then the harvest in the outer world. Now you may think, but perhaps these are exceptions, rare strokes of luck. I tell you, they are not exceptions. They are demonstrations. They reveal the law in operation. The same law that governs these stories governs your life too. The only difference is whether you use it consciously or leave it to work upon your fears. For imagination is always creating. The only question is, what seed have you planted? So take courage from these stories. Let them anchor your faith. For if others have received sudden money, why not you? If others have seen debts erased, why not you? If others have found wealth arriving in ways they could not plan, why not you? The law is not theirs alone, it is yours. Test it, and you will add your own testimony to the chorus of voices declaring that imagination creates reality, and this is only the beginning. For I will now share with you not only the stories of those who lived decades ago, but also the living voices of men and women today, who by the simplest imaginable acts have seen ladders appear, wealth arrive, and fortune ship. For the law is timeless, and its witnesses are many. Now, if you still wonder whether this law belongs only to a chosen few, let me bring you into the present, into the voices of those living even now who have tested imagination in the most ordinary of ways and found that the law answers with unfailing certainty. Perhaps you have heard of what I call the ladder exercise. I would tell a man who doubted, for 3 nights, before you sleep, imagine yourself climbing a ladder. Feel your hands on the rungs. Feel the strain in your arms. Feel your feet lifting step by step. Persist until it feels real, and then let it go. But during the day, affirm to yourself, I will not climb a ladder. And invariably within days ladders would appear, and the man would find himself upon one without conscious effort. Why? Because imagination had planted the seed, and the world, helpless to resist, brought forth the harvest. And do you know, even in these times, men and women have shared with me the same testimony. One man said he had scoffed at the idea, but he obeyed. Night after night he climbed the ladder in imagination, feeling the rough texture of the wood beneath his palms, smelling the faint scent of dust as though he were truly there. And though he declared by day, I will not climb, within a week he found himself called to assist a neighbor with repairs, and before he realized it, he was on the rungs of a ladder, the very act he had imagined. He laughed aloud and said, it worked. Imagination drew it out of the shadows into fact. Another woman wrote that she had practiced the ladder exercise as a test, but instead of a physical ladder, she soon found herself rising in unexpected ways in her career. She said, I thought I was only imagining the rungs beneath my hands, but suddenly my manager offered me a position higher than I ever dreamed, and I could not help but think the ladder appeared in another form. Do you see? The law does not fail. It adapts itself to the imagery and the feeling you impress upon it. There was another, a young man who doubted the law but wished to test it with something harmless. He imagined climbing a ladder at work. Within days, his supervisor asked him to retrieve something from storage, and he found himself on the company's ladder, grinning as he realized the law had worked exactly as promised. He said, Florence, I did not try, I did not plan. I simply imagined, and life arranged itself. Now, why do I share these simple ladder stories? Because they reveal the law in miniature. They strip away the excuse of difficulty. No one needs a fortune or a plan to climb a ladder. It is a trivial thing. Yet, when imagination is faithfully applied, even the trivial becomes inevitable. And if imagination can produce the trivial, why not the great? If the subconscious can bring forth ladders at your command, why not wealth? Why not success? Why not the lottery itself? The principle is the same, only the object differs. These modern testimonies flood me. Countless men and women saying, I tested it with a ladder, with a cup of coffee, with a word from a friend, and it came. And once they saw it in the small, they believed for the great. They moved from ladders to money, from coffee to careers, from words to relationships. And in each case, the law answered. For imagination is not limited by size or scale. To it, a ladder and a fortune are the same. Both are but shadows cast by the inner act. So, my beloved, do not despise the small tests. Do not think them childish. For each ladder climb, each little proof is a witness that imagination creates reality. Each is a stone laid in the foundation of your faith until you stand upon it strong enough to assume the greatest desire with unshakable confidence. These modern ladder stories are not about ladders, they are about law. They show that imagination once planted must bear fruit, whether in the trivial or in the tremendous. And if imagination can bring forth ladders, then it can bring forth riches. If it can summon the ordinary, it can summon the extraordinary. If it can draw the small, it can draw the great. The difference is not in the law, but in your daring to assume. And when you see this, you will stop saying, "Can it work for me?" And you will start declaring, "It must work for me, for I am imagination itself." Now, let us move even deeper, for there is a symbolism in these outward wins, these sudden checks, these lottery tickets, these ladders appearing from nowhere. They are signs of something greater, shadows of the truth that you are master of imagination, that you are God in action. Let us now explore the deeper symbolism of winning and why every out of victory points to the inner dominion of man over his own creation. Now, let me tell you something that may startle you at first, but if you hear it deeply, it will free you forever. To win money, to hold the check, to hear the numbers called, and know that fortune has fallen upon you is a glorious thing. It brings relief. It brings joy. It brings excitement. Yet I say to you that when magnificent as it may be, is not the treasure itself. It is but the symbol, the outer shadow, the sign that you have touched the true source of wealth, your own wonderful human imagination. For the lottery ticket, the check, the bank account, these are symbols, husks, reflections. The reality is the imaginal act that produced them. To rejoice only in the symbol is to mistake the shadow for the substance. To rejoice in the imagination that created it is to know you have found the fountain itself, the treasure that can never be exhausted. Do you see the great truth? When you win outwardly, it is only because you have already won inwardly. The numbers were drawn in consciousness before they were ever drawn on paper. The money was counted in imagination before it ever appeared in your hands. The victory was sung in your heart before it was ever announced in the world. The outer event is the echo. The inner assumption is the voice. So when you win, whether by lottery or by gift or by opportunity, recognize the symbol for what it is. A reminder that imagination rules all, that you are not at the mercy of chance, that you are the author of your own fortune. Now, let me give you a story. A student of mine once imagined herself holding a lottery ticket. Night after night she saw it, felt it, heard herself, saying, "I've won." She persisted until the feeling became natural. And then one day she won a modest prize. She was overjoyed. But I told her, do not cling only to the money. See it as the proof that imagination, when accepted and felt, must outpicture itself. The true prize is not the money, but the discovery that imagination works. She understood, and from that moment she began to use imagination not only for money, but for health, for love, for freedom. And she said to me later, "Florence, the lottery was a doorway. Once I walked through it, I discovered I could create anything. And this is the symbolism of every outer win. It tells you that you are greater than luck, greater than statistics, greater than chance. It whispers, you are the operant power, you are the cause, and if you can summon one wind, you can summon another and another until wealth flows as naturally as breath. But even that is not the end. For all the money in the world cannot compare to the revelation that you are. Imagination itself, God in action. That is the eternal prize, the promise hidden within the law. Think of Scripture. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which when a man hath found, he selleth all that he hath, and buyeth that field. The lottery ticket is the treasure hidden in the field of imagination. When you discover that imagination itself is the field, you would give all the world to possess it, for within it lies everything. To discover this is to be free, free from the tyranny of chance, free from the fear of lack, free from the endless pursuit of symbols. You will enjoy them, yes, but you will not worship them. You will know that the true kingdom is within you, and that all outer winds are but signs of the inner king. So I tell you, when you hear of others winning, rejoice, for their story is proof of the law. When you win yourself, rejoice twice. First for the harvest, and second for the revelation that you planted it. And when you see the symbol in your hands, lift your eyes higher. For the symbol points to the source, your own imagination, eternal, inexhaustible, divine. And once you see this, you will begin to understand why I say the greater prize lies not in money at all, but in the awakening to your true identity. Money is but the shadow of that awakening. Wealth is but the garment of that realization. The true treasure is the discovery that I am is God, and that imagination once awakened is your eternal inheritance. And that is where we shall go next, to the greater prize beyond money, to the promise itself. The revelation that transforms not only your fortune, but your very being. Now, having seen that imagination creates reality, having proven to yourself through testimonies and through practice that money, opportunities, and so-called miracles appear when you assume the wish fulfilled, I must now tell you the greater truth, the truth that overshadows even the richest bank account, for all the money in the world is but a shadow compared to this. And that truth is what I call the promise. For the law will give you all things, but the promise is the revelation that you yourself are God, clothed in flesh, and destined to awaken as the one true being. You see, wealth, health, success, these are good, but they are temporary. You may win today and lose tomorrow. You may enjoy riches and yet fear their loss. You may hold fortune in your hand and still tremble at the thought of death. But when the promise is revealed in you, fear is gone, death is swallowed up, and you know yourself to be eternal imagination. This is the treasure hidden within the field of your own being. This is the pearl of great price, for which a man will sell all he has to buy it. What is this promise? It is not written in newspapers, nor announced in lotteries, nor proclaimed by men. It is written in Scripture, hidden in parable, waiting to be fulfilled in you one day after you have lived the law and tested it. The promise will erupt within you like a blaze of glory. You will discover through vision and inner experience that you are not a man striving for God, but God Himself awakening in man. You will experience the birth from above, the discovery of the Father, the tearing of the temple, the ascent into heaven, not as stories from long ago, but as living realities in your own being. And here is the wonder. When the promise comes, it comes suddenly without warning, and it changes you forever. I myself have lived it. I have seen the child born out of my own skull. I have spit the temple of my body. I have risen into heaven clothed in light, and from that day I have known beyond question that I am He. And I tell you, what happened to me must happen to every one of you. For there is only God, and God has chosen to awaken in each of His children. Why do I share this in a talk about winning the lottery? Because if you think money is the end, you will miss the true treasure. Money will come easily, abundantly, as you assume it, but it is given to teach you the law, to strengthen your faith, so that when the promise comes, you will recognize it. The law is the servant, the promise is the gift. The law gives you things. The promise gives you God. The law changes circumstances. The promise changes you. So hear me well. Rejoice when you manifest wealth. Rejoice when you win. But do not stop there. Lift your eyes higher. See every win as a signpost pointing to the greater prize. For what good is it if you win the world and lose the knowledge of your true self? But if you awaken to your identity, then whether rich or poor in the eyes of men, you are the possessor of heaven and earth. And when the promise is fulfilled in you, you will look upon money as you look upon shadows. Useful, perhaps beautiful, but not the substance. For the substance is God in you, your own wonderful imagination revealed as the eternal I am. And this is why, though I teach you how to use the law to win fortune, I urge you never to forget the promise. For the promise is the goal. And when it comes, you will know that all the lotteries of earth are but symbols of the great lottery of heaven, which you have already won by being born as God's own. Now, beloved, let me draw back the veil and show you why money, though wonderful, though useful, though capable of granting you comforts and pleasures in this world, is never the substance, but always the symbol. For all wealth is a shadow, a garment, an image projected outward from the inner state. You dare to assume you may chase the shadow. You may gather it to yourself. You may pile it high as mountains. But unless you awaken to the truth that casts the shadow, you will remain restless, anxious, and unsatisfied. The true treasure is not the gold in your hand, but the gold of imagination within. And every dollar, every check, every sudden windfall is only a symbol pointing back to that fountain. Why do I call wealth a symbol? Because it does not originate in itself. Money has no life of its own. It is paper, it is metal, it is numbers on a screen, and yet men tremble before it, worship it, fear its loss, exalt its gain. But what is it truly? It is a reflection of your assumption. It is the crystallization of your feeling. It is the visible shadow of the invisible act. To believe money itself has power is to mistake the effect for the cause, the echo for the voice. The power is in imagination. The cause is in assumption. The life is in feeling. Money is the symbol, imagination, the substance. And when you see this clearly, you will no longer be enslaved by money. You will use it wisely. You will enjoy it freely. You will welcome it as a servant, but you will not bow to it as master. You will know that if today's fortune is lost, tomorrow's fortune can be summoned again. For the true treasure is within you, inexhaustible, eternal. You will know that if the numbers fall another's way, you can still live in abundance. For abundance is not the gift of chance, but the fruit of imagination. Consider how Scripture speaks of symbols. It tells us that manna fell from heaven to feed the people in the wilderness. Yet it also tells us that the manna was not the true bread, but only a sign pointing to the bread of life, which is God within. So it is with money. It is manna, sufficient for a day, useful for a season, but never the true bread. The true bread is imagination, the eternal substance from which all symbols flow. To live in imagination is to eat the bread of life, to draw from the fountain that never runs dry. Let me give you a story. A man once told me he had won a great sum, but soon after, through poor choices, he lost it. He came to me in despair, saying, "Florence, I thought I had lost everything." I said to him, "No, you have lost only the symbol. You cannot lose the source. You are imagination, and as long as you live, you can create again. Do not mourn the shadow. Return to the substance. Assume once more, and wealth will return. He obeyed, and within months he was restored. Not through the lottery, but through opportunities he had never foreseen. He discovered that wealth is not in the symbol, but in the imagination that casts it. This is why I say to you, do not idolize money. Do not think your salvation lies in numbers, in checks, in bank accounts. These are shadows, garments, reflections. Enjoy them, yes. Use them, yes. But know them for what they are, symbols of the wealth within. And when you know this, you will walk free. Free from fear, for you cannot lose the source. Free from greed, for you know, the supply is infinite. Free from envy, for you understand that each man holds within himself the same fountain, the same imagination, the same God. And when you live in this freedom, money will flow to you more abundantly than ever, not because you chase it, but because you have ceased to make it master. It will come as servant, naturally, easily, in ways you could not have planned. For symbols always follow substance, shadows always follow light, and money must always follow imagination. So lift your eyes higher. Do not cling only to the symbol. Seek first the kingdom of imagination, and all these things will be added unto you. Seek first the realization that I am is God. And money will come, opportunities will come, health will come, love will come, all as symbols of the inner state. And when they come, you will enjoy them, but you will not be bound by them. You will see through them to the truth that all creation begins and ends in imagination. And this, beloved, is the greater prize. To know that wealth is symbol, imagination is substance, and you yourself are the operant power. With this knowledge, you are free. Free to win 1,000 lotteries, free to create 1,000 fortunes, free to walk the earth as master, not slave. And with this freedom, you are ready to step into the final chapter of our journey, the closing of this great revelation, the summary of all we have seen, the affirmation of who you truly are, and the challenge to put it to the test tonight. And now we come to the end of this great journey together, but not the end of your discovery. For truth is not something you hear once and then put aside. Truth is the bread you must eat, the wine you must drink, the air you must breathe, until it becomes the very marrow of your being. Tonight you have heard me speak of the law and of the promise, of imagination as the only reality, of assumption as the golden path, of feeling as the power, of sleep as the doorway, of gratitude as the proof, of testimonies as the witnesses, and of the promise as the greater prize. You have heard that wealth is but symbol, imagination is substance, and you yourself are the operant power. If you have heard with the outer ear only, then these words may fade like mist in the morning sun. But if you have heard with the inner ear, if you have allowed these words to sink beyond reason into feeling, then tonight your life has already changed. Let me seal it in you now. Imagine yourself this very moment already, the winner. Do not postpone it to tomorrow. Do not condition it upon circumstance. Right now, in this instant, say within yourself, I am. I am the one who has. I am the one who is favored. I am the one who already possesses. Let that simple phrase become your anchor. When doubts rise, answer them not with argument, but with I am. When appearances mock you, answer them not with fear, but with I am. For in that declaration lies the power of creation, the voice of God speaking through you. And as you go to your bed tonight, do not carry with you the weight of lack. Do not rehearse the failures of the day. Enter into the state akin to sleep with one clear imaginal act, the feeling of already having. It may be the grip of a friend's hand congratulating you. It may be the sight of numbers lined up in your favor. It may be the quiet peace of bills paid and accounts full. Choose your scene, simple, vivid, short, and repeat it until it feels real. Then let sleep carry it into the depths of the subconscious where it will be received and multiply. And when you wake, walk in faith, ignoring appearances, knowing that the bridge of incidents is already forming, that life is already conspiring, that the harvest is already yours. Remember, gratitude is the fragrance of fulfillment. Do not try to force it. Do not say thank you as one begging. Say it as one who has already received. Whisper it as you drift into sleep. Not to get, but because you have. Let your heart sing it. Let your body feel it. Let your whole being hum with thanksgiving. That gratitude will be the sure sign that the subconscious has accepted your seed and the harvest is certain. So I challenge you now, test it. Do not wait for another day. Tonight, apply it. Choose your seed, plant it in the state akin to sleep. Feel it real. Give thanks and let it go. Then watch as the outer world, powerless to resist, bends itself to mirror your assumption. Do not wonder how, do not dictate when, simply persist, and the bridge of incidents will carry you to the end. And when it comes, whether by lottery ticket, by unexpected gift, by opportunity, by chance meeting, rejoice. But remember, the outer win is simple. The inner power is substance. Rejoice not only in the money, but in the discovery that you have found the treasure, the pearl of great price, the Christ within you, your own wonderful human imagination. That is the greater prize. That is the eternal inheritance. That is the promise. So as I leave you now, let me leave you with this affirmation. I am already the winner. I am already rich. I am already free. I am imagination. And imagination creates reality. Say it with me, not as words only, but as truth. Feel it, believe it, live it. For as you believe, so shall it be done unto you. And when you are ready to go deeper still, when you are ready to see how the same law that brings wealth can also collapse time itself, drawing your desires into the present with breathtaking speed, then I invite you into the next revelation. For the law not only creates, it bends time. What you think must take years can be shortened to days. What you think is far away can be brought near. That is the next mystery, the next secret, the next door. So do not stop here. Click and continue. For the same imagination that wins the lottery while you sleep can bend the hours and the years into the now. Thank you.